this video today titled "What do we have and what don't we have?" Does anybody know? Go on then. You tell us what you have and what you don't have. Is that it? Conversation over? Oh, and I suppose I'll best continue. So I'm writing this chapter today, and the chapter is about when we realise our spirit over and above the ego, then we become dichotomous, which is to say that we become split. We become schizoid in our personality. Because people who haven't woken up, they think, or they don't think. Most likely they don't think, but if they did, then if you ask them, who are you? Then they go, me, Aaron, X, Y and Z. I've done these videos before, right? So you're all familiar with that. And they're all concepts, and they're not you. And we end up going round in circles, and we can't find the actual essence of what we are. Because the essence is just pure isness. It's something that's completely indefinable, because we don't know what consciousness is, we don't know what spirit is, and we don't know what intuition is. So I'm looking at what happened to me, because I always have to revert back to the only thing I can be remotely sure that I know anything about, and that's the so-called me. So at some stage in my spiritual awakening journey, the light came on, and I'd realised that I wasn't the ego, that I'm something else. And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's this intelligence giving rise to this conversation now. It's not the body, it's not the mind, it's not the brain, it's not the voice. It's not consciousness. Is it all those things together? Maybe. But when we come to this crossroads in our lives and we start asking questions, because we realise that this ego thing is just a program, and all we've been doing all of our lives was just running the program. But then what happened? That the program breaks, and then all of a sudden something emerges. And it's kind of like if you are running around in the Mr. Blobby suit, you know, blobby, 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 and you think you're Mr. Blobby, and then one day your blobby suit gets snagged on a nail sticking out of the wall, and it's ripped completely off of you, and then all of a sudden you go, and then you have to ask yourself the question, what am I? I thought I was Mr. Blobby all my life, and now I'm no longer blobbying. I'm something else, and I don't know what it is. And then, if the dark night of the soul doesn't rapidly ensue, then, well, there's going to be a billion unanswerable questions. So in this chapter I'm writing about what happened and what can I make of it. Now the title is entitled something like when the carnal self dies and the only thing remaining is the spirit. Well, when we think the body is the self, that's the carnal version, the base version of us, right? If that metaphorically dies, like the ego dies, then there has to be something else, which is you, because something's jumped ship. And like the thing that was inside Blobby, well, there's a thing inside all of us. And when the operating system breaks, when the Blobby suit is torn off you, then you discover that there's something else in there. And this is why I love these Men in Black movies, because there's lots of these similes or allegories within those movies. They're illustrations telling us all the time that we are not the body. There's something else inside which is operating you. And in some of these aliens there's like, you know, a tiny little head on a body, little pinhead, and then there's, you know, a little alien moving levers, you know, in the head to animate the body, and all these sort of things. Well, yeah, I mean, something like that is going on. So when we no longer believe in the carnal body, when we no longer believe in the flesh, because the flesh is a lie, we look towards truth, and the only thing that we can discover is truth is something that is thinking. But it isn't that is thinking, it's that which is being thought. It is the actual thoughts which are something. And thoughts make things, yeah? Thoughts manifest into things. So it seems like all around us, as I'm speaking now, the words are all coming out, and in your minds you'll be transmuting these sounds which are coming out of the computer into shapes of things. When I'm saying whatever words, your mind's going to be going this shape, that shape, this concept, that concept, and you're going to get this Platonic idealism coming about in your head. Everything's an idea, and so the words just lean and point towards ideas. And then maybe with our hands we make manifest ideas into things which we consider to be tangible. So when I'm asking, you know, what's going on, I go, okay, so I've stepped outside of my earth suit and now I am this spirit. Where is the spirit? Don't know. What's it look like? Don't know. Where's it come from? Don't know. Where's it going? Oh my God. So is it not just something that you've invented, Aaron? Because you're nothing really, but you want to say that you're spirit because otherwise you would be nothing. And yes, a very peculiar way in which the ego, the very essence of the human being, is a barefaced liar. When it's presented with, who are you? Then it just doesn't know. And it cannot give you any straightforward answer. Because the only straightforward answer is, you're nobody. You're nothing. And you don't exist. You are just a figment of God's imagination. That's it. We are figments of God's imagination. So I go, okay, well, I'm quite happy with that. Being a figment of God's imagination, that's kind of like a shard of God consciousness, right? Yeah, just another way of saying it. Okay, I'm cool with that. So consciousness is God. Everything's in consciousness. The whole cosmos is in consciousness. I'm cool with that. Right. Okay. But then I find myself having a human experience. And if I just step outside of the blobby suit and I go, well, that's all a lie, I'm having nothing to do with it, like some of these gurus do, and they go and meditate in the cave for 30 years, well, that's an option that we've got, but not much of a fun one. And so I pursue another route. I pursue the route of, well, let's have a look then. Let's see the extent of your lies. Or my lies. If I'm God, I'm lying to myself. And of course there's one hypothesis that God consciousness has separated, fragmented itself into gazillions and gazillions of shards of cats and birds and slugs and mice and human beings and antelope and elephants and you name it, trees, to experience itself. I'm happy with that too. That sounds very beautiful and I think that's cool. But if I'm looking then at the lie and I'm speaking to other human beings who haven't as yet realised some of the things that I've realised, then, and some of you are looking for the answers which I'm imparting, then you find your delusion interesting enough to pursue, I'm finding mine interesting enough to pursue, so we can pursue them together. So we're playing the illusory game, aren't we, of existence, when we know that we do not exist as we think we are. We exist in that we are eternal cosmic consciousness. So I speak about when we lose our suit and then we accept that we're spirit. Well, we think from a different vantage point when we are thinking from our higher self. We're no longer thinking from the lower egoic self. That's just a basic, mundane, rudimentary human operating system. But if we really want to start to inquire about what's going on here, then we need more software. So when we grow too big for our blobby suit and we burst out, then there's a natural evolutionary thing that happens. All of a sudden our spirit cherry is popped, and when that's popped we go, oh, I'm spirit, oh, I'm naked. And it's very akin to the Garden of Eden, because when Adam and Eve ate from the fruit of knowledge, then they realized their nakedness. And so what I'm saying here is, as far as I can tell, that allegory meant that they woke up. And then when they woke up, they started to realize that God had been lying to them, and they're not this human thing in this wonderful garden and they're going to live forever and all this sort of thing. It wasn't in actual fact true. It was just a delusion that they were under. And then when they ate from the fruit, then they acquired knowledge of the deception, and they were no longer virgins. And so that's when apparently it went downhill. But I don't think it went downhill. I just think that Garden of Eden thing, even if it was in someone's wildest imagination true, then it seems to me that, well, walking around naked all the time, eating on all the fruits, but not that one. Every day you walk past it, you're going to go, oh, there's that tree. We're not allowed to eat from that one. And you're going to go, why aren't we allowed to eat from that tree? What's so different? What's so special? God gave us everything, but he said we can't eat from that tree. Oh, damn. And then we're going to, you know, our curiosity is going to get the better of us, and we're going to be investigating. We're going to be tapping, touching, kicking, nudging, tasting, until in the end we're just going to go, fuck it. I have a penis. Your penis has been cut off. What's going on? And then all of a sudden we're out in the big world, aren't we? So when we're out in the big world and we're speaking with God, this is what happens. We're still in communion with God. God hasn't left us. God has introduced another energy form into the equation, which is that baddie, him. And so we have him to take advice from, and we have him to take advice from, and we make our own decisions. We're not 100% reliant on anybody, and we can have voices from both. But when we make our conscious decisions that we don't want to have voices from him, because he's a bit of a loser, to be fair. Too destructive and got all these, you know, negative personality traits. No, I don't want to mix around with him. I don't want to be his friend. I want to be his friend. And so you start thinking, oh God, are you there? Oh, I'm lonely, I want to talk to you. And then you discover that he goes, yes, I'm still here. And you go, oh, cool. Who am I? Hello? God? I'm asking, who am I? Why have you gone quiet? Damn! But then you get like thoughts in your head. It's kind of like thoughts tell me that I'm eternal consciousness and, you know, I'm a part of him. Where is he? He's somewhere up there, but I feel like I'm a part of him. I personally don't feel like I'm a part of him. And so, if I've got, you know, one or the other to choose from, then in my life, have chosen him. So, I'm thinking, and I ask questions, and those questions are answered, but they're not in a voice from God up in the clouds or wherever he is, but he answers you in another way. He answers me in another way, and I've written about it extensively. And so we could say that he answers us via our intuition. Because what I did today was, people, I started to look more deeply into what intuition actually is. So I have an intuitive hypothesis of what intuition is. And I'm like, well, intuition is the language of God. It enables us to speak with God and to know, or to think as if we know, the nature of the universe. But the difficulty is with intuition, it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. It's just our speaking with God that tells us these things, that I'm one of God's children, that we're all God's children. In actual fact, we are the dreams of his children. Does that make any sense? He's dreaming us into thinking that we're real boys, like Pinocchio once thought he was a real boy, but he wasn't a real boy, was he? We're not real boys and girls. We are facets of God's dream. And it's like being in the fractal universe. Everything is just a smaller and smaller replication of the bigger. And so we're a smaller version of God. So we share God's consciousness. So we are God consciousness. We are the result of God's consciousness. We are dreams. We are fictions of God consciousness. Wow. We're just thoughts in God's mind, basically. And so I'm cool with that too, because my intuition is telling me all these things. When you look on the internet, what is intuition? I want you to know, because like when we speak about intuition, it's kind of like people talk about my intuition, your intuition, or intuition itself. And I'm like, well, is intuition a thing on its own, or is intuition something that we have or we possess? And I thought, well, if we possess it, then it can't be out there. Like people talk about, like intuition, it's just up in the sky. So, well, where is intuition? Oh, well, we have it. Well, that sounds a bit like when we say we have consciousness. Where is consciousness? Oh, it comes from the brain. So people say, some people, not many these days. In actual fact, I think the jury's, pretty well back in now on that consciousness isn't in our brain, and nobody knows where it is. But, there's a few concepts of that consciousness is everything, and a few hypotheses like idealism that everything is just an idea in the mind of God. And in view of the fact that there is no matter here, no material matter, then that sounds very feasible, doesn't it? I'm happy with that. So I'm looking into intuition, and I go, well, is intuition a noun or is it a verb? Is it something that we do? That's a verb, isn't it? A noun is a thing. And so on the internet it says that intuition is a thing. And then I go, well, Aaron is a thing, body is a thing, human is a thing, consciousness is a thing, all nouns. All noun, so Aaron noun, consciousness noun, human noun, body noun, all these things. Intuition noun. So they're all things, and things are separate from other things. So therefore, intuition can't be me. Nobody has ever said intuition is you. They said your intuition, as if we possess intuition. But in actual fact, we don't possess intuition because nobody's ever found it. Nobody could tell you remotely where it is or what it's made of. It's just something like consciousness that we seem to be within and seems to have an existence of its own. So therefore I'm like, yes, for me, intuition has an existence of its own, like consciousness has an existence of its own, and the human spirit shares in consciousness and in intuition and in pain and joy and love and all the rest of the other things. The human spirit, like a computer motherboard, is sharing in all the information which is being imprinted upon it. But does the motherboard say that this information is my data? Or does the motherboard just go, well, I was a motherboard without you being on me, in me before, so therefore I must be the motherboard outside of you data. But when your data has become indelibly embedded within me, then we could say that that's us. Because once it's been printed within you, it's a bit like if we have an iron, and all of a sudden that symbol, that sigil, is now being burnt onto our arms. The sigil was over there, and then a remnant of it is now on my arm in scar tissue. Is that me, or is it mine? It's a noun. It's like if we say, we have hands. Yes, we have them. They're not us, they're not what we are, we have them. We have everything, you see. So, you know, there's something in here which intuitively knew from the very, very beginning, because it doesn't allow us to speak in this way. I am the door, I am the tree, I am the stone. Only God used that terminology. I am that I am, because God is everything. God is dreaming everything. But we can't say that. I can't say I am the camera. I can't say I am consciousness. I can't say I am my hand. I have a hand. I have fingers. I have hair. I have speech. I have hearing. I have intuition. I have consciousness. Who is it that has all these things? Who is it? Because when we look, everything's a noun. And nouns are all separate things. And they can't possess anything else. Unless, of course, we have something like an underscore. Like the human body is a noun, and the human body has hands, legs, feet, arms, ears, and all the rest of it. But do we have them? Or are they us? You see, we enter the paradox again. It says in writing that we have those things. And yet, when we ask, do I have hands? Well, it's just a play on words, isn't it? Do I have a hand or two? Or am I the hands? And if we can say we are the hands, well, who is it that's asking this question? It isn't being asked from the hand, is it? It feels like it's being asked from here. So, is this what we are? Are we the brain? No, scientists tell us we're not the brain. We're that thing that's asking the question, which we don't know what it is. So, I then start to try to explain what intuition is, because that's what I'm doing in this book, people, and it may be boring and tedious and completely a waste of your time, but for me, because I am naturally philosophical of mind, then I'll spend all day every day asking these questions. I'm sitting down in front of doors in churches making videos about it. So I asked, what is intuition? And the dictionary says it's a noun. Well, doesn't feel like a noun. Doesn't feel like a thing. Feels like if I'm a fish and I'm in water, that's what it feels like. It feels like the thing that's all around me that I'm swimming through. If you ask a fish about the water it's in, he's not going to answer you, is it? He's going to go, "We're talking about Willis." What water? What water? What consciousness? What intuition? I am intuition. I am consciousness. I am water. I am earth. I am fire. I am brimstone. I'm everything. Who are you? We've been there. You've upset a lot of people by making that video, Mr. Berry. You confused them. Yeah, I guess. Probably best steering clear away from that question. But it's a question that keeps coming back. It comes back and it comes back and it comes back. And so, you just have to go, well look, this thing that's asking, isn't it in actual fact the thing that's creating the questions? And it also would be the thing that's answering the questions. So we've got a thing which asks questions, and then we've got a thing that answers questions, and that thing are both the same thing. So why are you asking yourself questions that you know the answers to? Well, because it's fun to pretend that we don't. Because if we acted as if we knew everything in this cosmos, like we do, because we're God, then there'd be no fun to be had, would there? There'd be no questions to ask, and then there'd be nobody to argue with. You know, when you see people having these debates and arguments, and they're getting all so, and they're rolling their eyes, and, you know, I've been watching a few of these videos about the whole Russell Brand thing, and when you get women on, excuse me, oh, and all this business, oh my God, yeah, that's me. They're all me. They're all facets of me, every single one of them, every single bit of them. Everywhere I look, it's all me. Of course it's me. It's all going on in here, which isn't going on in here, it's going on out there. You see, this beautiful paradox that we're in. Ignorant people think we're in here. Intelligent people know we're not. Intelligent people know we're out there. That's where we are. But we also have this thing, which is an Earth rover. So it's kind of like a spaceship up in space, orbiting a planet. It wants to know some stuff about that planet, so it sends down a pod or a rover. Now, when we look at the rovers on Mars, could we say that they are rovers on Mars? They are computers and machines on Mars? Or could you say that they are Earth's eyes and ears and senses? Because what we do is we give those machines, to the best of our ability, a replication of our senses. We give it eyes to look at things, we give it hearing to listen to things, we give it sensory systems to examine and analyse and inspect things, and when it's done that in our brain, which is extended in the pod on Mars, it sends it back to us. So doesn't it make sense to you to consider that we are all just Earth rovers? No different to rovers on Mars, except that we have sentience, which the Mars rovers don't have as yet. But if those rovers did have sentience, then there would be little difference to us. Only they're machine and we're flesh. Only that isn't really a difference, because we are only imagining our flesh and that machine, because it's all in the mind of God. It's all in the imagination of God. And so this is why for years my intuition came about, I don't know, a long time ago. And intuitively I've always known that I am the universe. I am God. And I've upset lots of Christians when I've said that, because I'm blaspheming, and literally, you know, some of them have really wanted to hurt me because of their stupid, ignorant, small-minded, closed consciousness that they possess. Why is it that God has only given a fraction of the consciousness to some humans and a great deal to others? My consciousness is vast compared to the vast majority of people. And even you, the viewers, who think you're pretty smart and got things together, the things I say you probably haven't even thought about. Come on, don't give me that. And so what is it that's going on? Other facets of me are listening to me, somewhere around the world, and I know not who or where. But I'm speaking into an electronic device, and that electronic device is enabling all these other people around the world to listen and look at me. I think that's a lie. I think it's just a story. I think this whole thing is just a story. Hang on, what happens? You record your vibration into a machine, and then with this camera it's looking at another vibration. This is just a vibration. It's just atoms vibrating gazillion times a second. And so it's recording this vibration, it's recording that vibration, and then it's sending the information via vibration, to be received via a vibration, looking at a vibration, listening like a vibration. It's just one vibration. The whole thing is a vibratory soup, people. There's nothing going on except imagination within vibration. And so when I think about these things, well, what does it do? What do I get out of it? Well, I get clarity. I realise my godliness the more I am tuning in to the central motherboard, the central server. I realise that I am a pod, an Earth rover, but I have a computer chip which potentially could contain all the information of the mother chip. In every single one of our cells, as microscopic as they are, is every single bit of information which builds the whole thing. Can you imagine the amount of information that is in a microscopic piece? You see, when we looked at it like that, it's obviously a lie. It doesn't make rational sense. How can you fit all the information about this whole body? It must be gazillions and gazillions and gazillions and gazillions and gazillions of zeros and ones, binary, that is going to be explaining what this thing is. and it would probably wrap around the whole cosmos petunary, gazillionary, multi-scrutinary times. I'm sure when we go up in scale of numbers, those words I've just said are actual things. By the way, why shouldn't they be? I've just said them, and I'm God. So you know, when you see, look, it's very ignorant and stupid of us when we haven't got a clue. Hang on, you're telling me that when I go back to my home and I put in this little metal chip thing into the computer takes all this information, it takes my living essence, and like Beam Me Up Scotty, it takes me down into data, and then it fires me through the ether, and you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't grab it. Hey, where's that bit of me? Hey, you know, what was I said? Hey, I want that back. I don't want to say that anymore. Where is it? No, we can't do that. It's out there in the ether, it's out there in the Akasha. And then it's coming to your device, and then it's transforming me, Beam Me Up Scotty. All of a sudden, I'm beamed up on your desk or in your hand. They've been telling us this sort of porky pies in these movie Star Treks for years. And now they're telling us it's true here. What is true, people, is that consciousness is having a dream. And we can dream anything. And whatever sounds absolutely outlandish is possible to think about. When we look at a movie, what are you looking at? You're looking at pixels on a two-dimensional screen. And it looks like it's got depth, and it looks like it's filled with all these life forms and human beings, and we're like, oh wow, watch out for that baddie over there, oh, here he comes, you know, all this stuff's going to be happening. Then you're like, I will do him some damage. Oh shit, wow, look at that, oh my god. And all things are happening with your body. You're just looking at pixels on a two-dimensional screen. Are you sick? Are you insane? But look what's happening to you. You're probably feeling very stimulated, embarrassingly so. You're just looking at light on a screen. The human being is laughable. It's a joke, people. This whole thing is the joke. From the beginning to the end. It's the Cosmic Giggle. I might have to title this video that, the Cosmic Giggle. That's what's happening, people. Can you hear me on this? Can you hear me? Aaron, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Aaron? You know, when I do that, I go back into the womb of the cosmos, and I know that I am everything. It's like when I had my first decent DMT trip. I was in this place, and I knew that I was the creator of the cosmos. I was everything. And then, when the DMT started to wear off, I came back to playing at being a human being. But I knew I was God. That's why I know people. I know because of that. I know because of all the other experiences that I've had, that I'm God. But that doesn't mean to say that you should feel left out, because you're God too. We're all God, you see. Everything. This is God. God's house in God's head. God's words in God's mini-me head. It's God, God, God. God, 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 God. God.